a seat. There might not be enough seats, which I'm sorry, but I'm a small store. Everyone gets All right, thank you all for coming tonight. It's going to be a good reading. I'm very excited. Got a bunch of great poets here. Feel free to help yourself to refreshments in the back. If you didn't come for the reading, you can shop around a little bit quietly while what's going on. And please silence cell phones now if you haven't, or else everyone in the store will turn and point and laugh at you when it goes off. All right. First up, we have Shangyang Fang. Grew up in Chengdu, China. He majored in civil engineering as an undergrad. After discovering there is a higher employment rate in the field of poetry, he decided to pursue an MFA. He writes both in English and Chinese. Sometimes he writes poems first in Chinese to structure their skeletons, then translate them into English to add flesh and blood. He is now a poetry fellow at the Michener Center for Writers.
Thank you. Good evening. So, I'm Shangyang, I'm from China. Well, who isn't? So it seems everyone's from China. Welcome back to China again. Going to read some poems. I will set an alarm. The first poem that I wrote when I found one day there's a fly on my window, so I wrote a poem for the fly. It has a long title. Black swan is everything that makes its surrounding a pound. I spot a pitiful fruit fly on the window's fortified winter, unbeautiful creature, born to be shattered. A scar, a half-erased word on the snow skin of a flat, fleshless paper. Nothing to be admired, except its ceaseless work aiming to penetrate the window, like a swan's beak needling into the glass water. What's the cost? To disturb a paralyzed cold dream, to forge the body into a prodigious reverie. A black swan who knows nothing about the water survives by wounding the water. Like a word that ravages a page, its boneless ink winds like a swan's nape to undertake its very definition, but that too is a mistake. The fly is cleverer than a word. It wings away from the glass lake, knowing it is impossible to quell, but it suffers too, like a word. Each insect is a molecule of solitude. But at night, the swan rides like a lone king into my mind. I cannot see it. I hear the swan speaking to me. I don't want to sleep early. I don't want to dream. Then the lake. The dark plumes of the night conflate into the sudden silence of the swan, and in the blackness of its inflicted feathers, my hands to unbearable wings. I don't want what I cannot want, but the swan is given. Even at times it's silent, even trapped by the water, darker than its feathers, moments to hurt, to fly. The second poem was written in a classical music form trying to imitate the fugue. And there are two names in the poem, Georg Trakl or George Trakl, a German poet who fell in love with his own sister, and after his sister killed herself, he killed himself. And Porcelain was a German language poet whose parents were murdered in the Second World War in the concentration camp. If you talk about sadness, fugue. 1. Porcelain wasn't necessarily the saddest person chronologically. Trakl could have been sadder, though his sadness was personal. The personal is unbearable. 2. I returned to China in the summer and found summer doesn't belong there. 3. The loneliest music is Brahms' first piano concerto. My friend said it's like drinking a bowl of Chinese herbs in the dark. 4. Schubert is non-existence. 5. Trakl wrote, your body is a hyacinth, and Celine drank milk when the night came. 6. This morning, a boy in Syria, 5 years old, was rescued from the dust. He wiped his head and saw the blood. He didn't cry. In front of the television, people wiped their faces draining with tears. They didn't bleed. 7. In June, I bought a book of Silver Age poets. Akhmatova was the moon of Russian poetry, Pushkin, the sun. 8. A girl, again in Syria, cried and raised her hands to surrender when a journalist took a photo of her. She thought the camera was a gun. 9. I cried when I listened to Brahms. The dead became returned. 10. In August, my aunt drove 2 hours to my town and begged me not to be a poet. She read the poetry under my pillow and found out Akhmatova's son was arrested, Gumilev killed, Stayeva went mad, everyone else exiled. 11. My aunt said, we're still in a communist country. I told her, I'm already exiled by my family. 12. The moon remembers. She witnesses in the dark. I asked her to explain how we have forgotten to start with forgiveness. 13. For that boy, the war never ends. He shall not be lonely. He shall repeat that motion of wiping, of digging his mother out of dust, out of war memory, brushing her hair stained with blood. He doesn't remember his mother's name. He kisses her face. 14. Schubert had the body of a hyacinth. He wilted so fast. Traco added, the last gold of an expiring star. 15. Celine's mother died in the war. He wrote poems for her. He remembered her name. He wrote, it's falling, mother, snow falls in the Ukraine. Ukraine is the name of a place. His mother's name is Mother. 16. I stopped writing poems as my aunt pleaded. I took the book back. 17. I closed my eyes and touched the book as if blind to feel how cold each word is on the page, how sharp, like shattered glass. I'm afraid no one can keep it from falling apart. 18. The personal is unbearable. Someday the moon will fall apart from her memories. All night she stared at the fleeting water, then left. Nothing remained except the calm stare of the ceaseless water. I still have time. Celadon. A celadon is Chinese porcelain made in Song Dynasty. That's all you need to know. Celadon. Watermarked like little maps, hands arrive with lamps. Jade bones under the ice skin, wrists churn the river, erase a mountain from the water's scarred surface. Only a boy's hand could perceive such precision of tenderness. Rubbing the mud soft, swinging the glazed thing, etching decals, searing cracks like orchid leaves. To shape a body that is too fragile to be bodiless, to instill the celadon with flaws of its palm print, the boy sculpts a dream being, another boy, too beautiful, not like a boy at all, for a boy is as deadly as beauty itself. The moon feels its long tongue upon the drunk skin of his spine. What is it like? A boy dreaming another boy's body. It must be deadly. It must swivel the clocks back to the Song Dynasty, when the clock is not a portrait of time, when time is measured with beads of wine, when I would go undraped to the river's fringe, rinse my skin clean, my translucent lone bones sizzle under the charring stars. My whole flesh, elegant, anized celadon, mounts against its own best. The moonlight sheds faintly on my body. Suddenly, I rely on nothing to live. And this is the last one. Nude descending our staircase. At night, when I take off my bra, I'm unfettered like a soaring warbler. My cousin told me while slipping off her shoulder girdle in front of the mirror. Her hair was unbound, her naked spine arching. The air outside smoldered with the chirping of insects. The rain is about to come, I said. Summer in Chengdu is hot as hell. I felt bashful watching her hair-shaded nape. Her cardamom-like nipples bloomed in the mahogany frame of the mirror. She felt at ease. Perhaps she thought I was still too young, that I was more of a boy than a man. Perhaps she thought that day by the rosemary alley, the boy kissed my lips. He tasted like blueberries. She thought I'd be innocuous, benign. The sudden rain stopped my thinking. The sudden rain stopped the flirting of summer birds shaping a formless cage. Come on, this damn rain just ruined my day, and my date. I'm supposed to be at a party by now. Her complaint didn't stop her from brushing her hair or appreciating the reflection of her body, as if this moment she were at the Philadelphia Museum of Art admiring the painting by Duchamp, as if she were trying hard to decode her body, harder than making love, a metaphysical process of deconstruction. It was harder work than she had imagined. There she stood, smooth as a cello. The breeze from the fan fluttered her hair, as if Jacqueline Dupre's long fingers played a vibrato on the G string of her blue cello. Dupre was a poor woman, a woman abandoned by her husband on her deathbed, unlike my cousin, who had an unswervingly loyal boyfriend, at least for now. So much depended upon her boyfriend, as musicians depend on their instruments. But now what held her here wobbling like a brimming creek wasn't her dependency. Was it my eyes fixing her in an articulate design, the mirror suspending her escape, her reflected shape, her skin of cello-lacquered membrane, or her glowing eyes reverencing her flesh, decoding, nude, descending a staircase? Perhaps it was the air. It was only the air that mattered. As Duchamp himself put it, the whole ideal of movement, of speed, was in the air. This stupid, smothering air of summer. She would have wept if she'd seen the painting, a bodiless form of a formless instrument, a headless cello shuttling through blocks and slots of many solid, tangible geometries of loneliness and desire. The pause of rain stopped my thinking. My cousin's strap was back to its place to conceal a trace of whiteness on her almond shoulder. How do I look? Gorgeous, I said, slightly exaggerating, using my thumb and forefinger to pick a fictitious lint from her hair. Are you sure you don't want to come with us? I'm good. After she left, the glass she touched kept whirling the wine, her fragrance detained. The vision of her nude loomed upon the silver of the mirror. Some haunted metaphors of a deceased thought. I walked toward the mirror, taking off my clothes, the way my cousin did, so gently as if cleaning a wound. My skin smelled like rain, naked. My hair smelled like the black, black earth, eyes closed, as if I treaded barefoot on cut grass, my insteps stained with green, as I ran fingers over my clavicle, playing a silent instrument. I saw the painting before. I wept, not out of affection, but fear, to see how strokes of desire poured out of a motionless body that was perpetually moving, to imagine how loneliness dissected that body without a galloping thrash. Fear to smash a cello and find out there was no music inside. Fear to admit it was fingers that made music. It was the looking that made beauty. Not me, not me. But I was satisfied, looking into the mirror as if looking through my cousin's eyes. That afternoon, by the rosemary alley, a boy was kissed by another boy, and both of them tasted of blueberry.